I tried to film this earlier, but like it didn't go how I wanted it to. I feel like this might be a middle of the night type of conversation. This is something I was gonna wait to talk about until it like didn't hurt to talk about it anymore, but I have been thinking about it, and I think if I wait that long, then I'll get to a point where I don't remember how hard it was, and I want to be able to give empathetic advice, you know? I also was gonna try and make this video without really talking about my experience and like how I got on in my A-levels, but when I was going through it, I felt so alone in it, because I think most people's experience of sixth form or college is that it's when people start to mature and start being nicer to each other, and it's when they make a lot of good friends that they stick with. If somebody had made a video like this when I was starting sixth form and I had seen it, I think I would have felt better, so I'm making it. A quick warning, I am going to talk about depression and like suicide and things that come with that. If you think that this is just going to make you upset, then don't watch it, but this is advice for if you're doing your A-levels and you're depressed or just not having a good time at school. If you haven't seen me talk about it anywhere and you haven't seen my monthly vlog, which you should watch, I missed 63 days of school this year. My attendance was below 50% and I ended up with AAB, which is, you know, just thought I should mention in case you're like, who are you to give advice? I've split this video into sections, so if any of it is not relevant to you in any way, you can skip it. I'll put the time codes of each section in the description. First thing I want to talk about is getting yourself to actually go into school. In year 12, I went in a lot more than I did in year 13. Things that helped me to do that were I gave myself in my head 1 day per term that I was allowed to wake up in the morning and go, you know what, not today, and just stay home. It's reassuring to have that in your head as a backup and to know that you can have it if you need it. However, try not to miss more than 1 day at a time, because once you fall into the habit of not going, it's so much harder to get back into the routine of going to school. Avoid making it a habit. Keep a count of how many days you've missed. I kept mine on my whiteboard up here because I feel like sometimes you can underestimate and be like, nah, I haven't missed that much. But if you have a solid reminder of how much you've missed, it kind of motivates you to kick yourself back into going. And I didn't start doing this next thing until way too late, and I feel like it would have saved my depressed ass. But have some way of working off those numbers. For me, it was, if I went in every day for a week, I could take a number off of my counts. What just happened? That's really freaked me out. Well, I'm gonna keep going, even though this is probably way too dark. Yeah, so if I had missed 10 days, then I could bring it down to 9 by going in every day for a week. It's just good to feel like you can redeem yourself and work it back off, and it stops you from looking at that number and going, oh, well, I've already missed so much, I might as well just miss another day. If you've already fallen into the hole of missing school and you are already in the habit of staying home, don't panic. Try and pick 1 or 2 days per week that are the most useful and the most beneficial, and go to those. Also, just make sure that you're keeping up with your subjects at home. You do have to do the work at home, like there's no way to get around that. Speak to your head of year or your teachers and see if there's anything they can do to help you out. Okay, I think that's that section. Oh, it's back. Having no friends like me. I didn't have any friends at sixth form. There was a group of people that didn't like me because I was friends with people that they didn't like for reasons that are still a mystery to most people. And my group of friends that were like the people I was associated with that were also not liked kind of like fought amongst themselves and split up, so there ended up being 3 of us. One of them I had no classes with, I never saw him, and my other friend was in my classes, but she moved schools at the beginning of the year without telling me. That was a blow. And it was hard to go in without my like one friend. I don't blame her, by the way. I don't know if she watches my videos. I love her and I was happy for her. So this isn't me trying to like be mean about her. I absolutely support her decision. Yeah, so that was my situation. I had no friends and I felt unwelcome everywhere. Here is my advice if you're dealing with a situation that's similar to that. If you can be away from people for part of your day, then do that. I would walk home for every single free period that I had. I'm like a 15-20 minute walk from my school, so sometimes I didn't have time to come home. Like if it was a break, then it was only 20 minutes. So if I had to be there, I would hide in the toilets. Tragic. But don't be ashamed to do shit like that. Like, that's honestly my advice. If it makes you feel better and more comfortable and more safe to be on your own for that little space of time, take that opportunity. do it. Like, I'm pretty sure there were people that knew I was hiding in the toilets. I did not care. Being able to just sit and not talk to anyone and not be looked at by anyone for 20 minutes was so good. To me, it was worth it. It made my day less stressful. Obviously, if your school has better places for you to be on your own, then use those. I didn't have a library because our school was under construction. Yeah, also, if you are walking to and from school as much as I did, make sure you're taking care of yourself physically. My feet hurt all the time. My hips hurt all the time. I took up yoga for a little while to try and like remedy it. Just make sure that you're taking care of yourself. That's a very niche problem. I'm not sure how many people are going to have that, but just watch out for that. Moving on. In most cases, there will be 1 or 2 people in each of your classes that are willing to like be your friend for that class. I had somebody in each class that I would sit with and like speak to for that lesson, but I never spoke to them outside of that because they scared me. Because I would have people be nice to me and then they would turn around and do something mean. I wouldn't let myself consider anyone there a friend, really, which sucks because some of the people that I spoke to in classes were really nice. Anyway, have a friend in each class. It makes classes easier because you have someone to sit with and someone to talk to. You have someone you can ask about work that you've missed, and if you ever have to go on a school trip, you have someone to like be with or someone that will keep you company. Oh man, I hated school trips. Make friends outside of school. This sounds obvious, but like, build a life for yourself outside of school that you can go into once you've left. If nothing else, it just gives you perspective and reminds you that there's this whole other world outside of your school. Like, if I hadn't had my YouTube channel, I honestly don't know what I would have done. Like, this reminded me that there was just this whole other life and this whole other world, and nothing at school needed to matter here. Join a club, make friends online, make friends in the fucking comments of this video, I don't know. Also, if you don't have any friends at school, then like, you need a support group, you know? You need some people who are gonna be there for you. Kind of in the same vein, don't shut out your family. I made my home life really difficult for myself. In year 12, I just like went a little bit mad and was like horrible to my friends and my family, and I'm still dealing with the repercussions of that in a lot of relationships in my life, and it sucks. Just keep an eye on yourself and make sure that you're not taking out what's happening to you on the people around you, because that's going to make things worse for you. My point is here, you need worlds outside of school that are going to be comforting to you. My absolute worst low was when I just had something happen with friends from outside of school, which kickstarted something bad happening at home, and I spent 3 weeks, I think, dissociating. I had no idea what was going on. I tried to watch a film and I did not understand any of it. I was so spaced out. I felt like I was living a few seconds behind myself. My family went away for a few days and I spent the whole time not sober. I thought about dying every single day. It was an incredibly low, and it was because I had let myself completely ruin my home life and my relationship with people outside of school. That was a bit of a tangent, but my point is that it is important to maintain these other things outside of school. Also, I completely came back from that. I am so okay now. I don't think I've ever been this okay in my whole life. If you are going through an experience similar to the one that I just described, I know how permanent that feels. You will be okay again one day. I absolutely promise, and I'm living proof of that. Yeah, anyway, back to school. Jesus. Teachers are people. They have empathy and compassion, and if there's anything that they can do to help you, ask for it, because like, they probably do care about you and want you to be okay. Okay, keeping up with work. First of all, even if you're not going to school that day, get dressed and go outside. If you can't push yourself to go to school, at least push yourself to get dressed. It helps you to focus, to feel ready for the day, and to get some fresh air and some exercise. Email your teachers, ask them for work, send them your work and ask them to mark it. Ask them for resources, ask them what's coming up in future lessons, ask them what you can be doing to keep up. Get ahead of things if you can. I found it helpful to like read up on what was gonna come up in the next lesson before the lesson, so that I had like a good base understanding, and then once I got there, the lesson would just like solidify my knowledge and fill in any gaps. I want to be able to give like tips and tricks on keeping up with work beyond what I've already said, but honestly, keeping up with work just requires keeping up with work. There were days where I was so like just not capable of it, and there were days that I did no work and I just stayed at home and like did nothing, but I made up for them. I worked really hard, and if you're gonna miss a lot of school, you will have to work hard as well. I wish I could tell you that there was an easier way, but you do just have to work very hard. I had somebody ask me on Twitter, how do you work when you've lost motivation? And My answer to that is not to wait for motivation. I hated everything about being alive, and motivation was just not possible, and you just have to do it anyway. I knew logically that I needed to do well and that I would be angry with myself if I didn't do well, so I worked hard. It was not because I was motivated, it was because I knew logically that it was the only thing to do, and that sucks. Anyway, getting help. Go to your doctor. I had someone ask me how to cope with schools not really taking mental health as a legitimate reason to miss school. I think if you go to your doctor and sort of have a way to legitimize your mental illness, like if you can get your doctor to communicate with school, that might help you. My school, like, I think they gave up on me pretty quick, so it wasn't a problem for me. But still, go to the doctor. They can refer you to a counsellor, they can try and get you on antidepressants, like, they can get you help. I had a counsellor in year 12 and she was crap. She didn't believe me. Like, I would tell her stuff that happened at school and she just did not believe me, and one session I like broke down crying and I was like, why don't you believe me? And she just said, it's not about believe, which it fucking well was. And I stopped going to counselling and I just gave up on the idea of getting help in general. I was like, nope, if that one counsellor couldn't help me, then what's the point? I'm just gonna have to deal with this on my own. And I think that was a mistake. I should have asked for a different counsellor, or I should have gone back and like demanded antidepressants. Just because the first thing you try doesn't work, or the second thing you try doesn't work, it doesn't mean that there's absolutely nothing out there and that there's nothing the medical world has to offer to you. If you don't want to go to your doctor, which I would recommend, go to your friends. There is a good and bad way to rely on your friends. Relationships are subjective and everything. I can't tell you a set like way to healthily rely on your friends, but I can speak from my experience, so here we go. I got into the mindset of like, everyone I care about is gonna leave me, because some people I cared about left me. But I stopped myself from getting attached to anyone or relying on anyone or allowing myself to view anyone as a friend. I think that was the point that things started going really downhill for me. So like, go to your friends. Don't go to someone with the same problem over and over again. If you're gonna talk to a friend about your emotions and how you're feeling, call them about it, don't text them, because I think it's very easy to constantly bombard someone with texts about how you're feeling. But if you designate a time to it, then it's like one conversation and it's not going to overtake their life or overtake your life, you know, it's contained. Also, it's a lot more fulfilling to say how you're feeling out loud and to hear a response out loud in their voice. That's always more comforting than reading it off a screen. If you're not somebody that's good at talking about your emotions, just like go grab a friend and be like, hi, be my friend for a sec. Ask if you can hang out or if you can go visit them or if they can call you and just chat. Just ask your friends for friendship. Okay, I guess that's enough about being depressed. Exams. In the months leading up to my exams, I revised everything. I had a checklist of every topic that I needed to get through. I would pick one, spend a few days working through it, and then the day after I would wake up and pick a new one, like whichever one I felt like doing. I just feel like giving yourself that little bit of choice and variety and like mystery makes life slightly more interesting and bearable. Don't bother to try and memorize everything. There's so much content for A-level subjects. By the time you get to your exams, you will have forgotten it and you're going to have to re-memorize it. Just make sure that you've covered everything and that you totally understand everything, and make sure that you know how to structure your answers in the exams, especially if you're doing essay writing subjects. I really shouldn't be saying these as if they're absolute rules that you should be following, because they're not. Different things work for different people. When my exams came around, I would only revise for the exam that I had immediately coming up. If I had like an English exam and a psychology exam at the end of the week, I would spend that week revising for that topic in English and that topic in psychology and nothing else. As long as you make sure that you give yourself enough time, you're gonna be fine. You don't need to be revising all of them at the same time. I've switched to talking about you again. In this time, this is when I memorized things. I don't want to give advice too specific to my actual subjects, because you don't all take the same subjects that I took. So, yeah, anyway. Also, during exam time, don't be a complete shut-in. Try and give yourself maybe like one day a week to go and socialise. Make sure you're getting outside enough. Make sure you're taking care of yourself. You know. I think that's everything. It's not everything though, but I don't know what else to fit in other than that. It's okay. This point has been made so many times by so many different people, but Like, you're gonna be okay, and school is not permanent, and it goes by so quick. I wish I could show this video to myself at the beginning of my A-levels and just let myself know that it was gonna be okay. If you're having a bad time at sixth form, I've been there. I was so unbelievably miserable. There were 2 chunks of time where I really wanted to kill myself, and I think if I had stayed feeling like that for a couple of days longer than I did both of those times, I might have done. That's a horrible thing to say without laughing off. I hated waking up, I hated myself, I hated the way I looked, I hated the way I behaved, I hated everything about my daily life. I hated music, I hated food, I hated my friends a lot of the time. I found reasons to hate them because I was scared of them hating me. Everything hurt and everything sucked. Every day was painful. If you're feeling that way now, and if you're going through that now, this is not permanent, and it doesn't have to define who you are for the rest of your life. You can leave where you are now and be somebody completely different. It's not too late for you. My teachers thought I was gonna fail. Pretty sure my family thought I was gonna fail. Pretty sure a lot of my friends thought I was gonna fail. They were all right to think that. I thought I was gonna fail, but I worked so hard and I pulled it back at the last minute and I got fucking AAB. It is so not too late for you to get the grades that you deserve. Just please don't give up on yourself. Don't give up on your grades. Don't give up on life, because it's so worth living and it can be good again. I promise you. I'm so okay now. Like, I'm proud of myself. I'm still alive and I got good grades. I feel like this is coming across like I'm saying like, oh, I'm fine now because my situation is now perfect. It's not. Obviously there are things about my life I wish I could change. There are relationships in my life I wish I could change. There are people I wish cared more about me than they do. I wish I wasn't depressed still. I wish for a lot of things. But I'm fine with wishing for those things because I'm not wishing to die, and I'm so grateful for that. This is getting really rambly and like doesn't make any sense. If there is any advice that you think I could give you that I haven't given you in this video, then please ask for it. I have a Tumblr, I have a Twitter. You can comment it down below. If you have any advice for people trying to get through school with depression, leave that in the comments. I might do a live stream about this at some point with some friends because it would be cool to get other people's perspectives and advice. I wish you all the absolute best of luck, and I promise you that you're going to be okay. Oh, okay. Well, thanks for watching.